I think it's time.
That's a good idea.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. And we have 3 live audience here sitting across from me. Can you all hear me? Okay, good. Do we have something to chant to begin with? The short Vajra prayer? Maybe we need to share screen for that.
Dorje Changchen Telo Narodam Marpa Mila Chiji Gambopa Disum Shija Kinkian Karmapa Cheshi Chungye Gilpadinam Drita Salsum Halden Rupaso Zablan Jagya Chilangani Nyamne Doga Gapo Kagila So Adetso Kagilama Gipartino Nantajiro Shenlo Gonggi Gangpar Sung Harshin Zinur Kinwa Chakshen Mipadam Sedir de Tak Chulpegon Chenwa Nigur Shenpa Mepa Jingilo Mergugongi Golsongharshin Mengak Tergo Jepe Lama Gindu Soa Depegon Chenwa Chemin Mergi Kyewarji Hope Yengme Gongi Ngashir Song Marshin Gangshar Tope Mo So Made Majidikar Jope Gon Chen La 곰자로다 라와지 남동어 출굴송발신 지양마리 질양잘와라 마가벌 절웨이검젠 골뱅 속펄진기로 개와 근수 양당라마당 다음에 책이 한롱실징 사당람기 옌텐랑종네 돌지장기 검방류조 돌지장기 곰팡률 척살화당 취칭샤파당 지수이랑 규싱소아이 개와 중세다기 치사파 잠세다기 장축칠ngô 사시 퍼추 죽싱 메토담 리랍링시닌데 갬파디 상히 싱두 미케 부아이 broken 남닥 싱라 즈발쇼 셈젠 남기 삼바당 로이 제닥 지타와 최종 진원 택하이 최기 콜로 코두소
Good morning, everyone. Very happy to see you online. Actually, I can see you better than live audience because each one of you shows up very clearly. And thank you for joining us. We're very grateful for Zoom, so we can continue with our study and contemplation on Milarepa's songs on renunciation. So I hope that the last day and a half of reading the songs of Milarepa has made some at least some slight changes in the way you see the world and think about your priorities in life, and that you have made at least some resolution since this new year, New Year's resolution that you're going to make perhaps some positive adjustments to your schedule so that it'll allow more time for practice and less time for, mundane activities, pleasure, entertainment, and, just miscellaneous things that we enjoy but really don't mean anything. We have hobbies and things like that, and those hobbies are maybe good for maybe some sort of, I don't know, recreation for the mind, but I think it's good to reduce them to a minimum so that we can spend more time on things that really matter. And these things that really matter don't just matter in this life, they matter for all lifetimes in the future. They will bring us a lot more happiness than these hobbies and entertainments and, things that we do that seem necessary, seem meaningful, and seem to provide richness to our life now. But when you look long term, they may not do much, in terms of when you die, when we die. Do these things help? I doubt it, So think of death, really. This is what Milarepa has been telling us in all of these songs. Think of death. What are you going to do when you die? What are you prepared? What do you have, to face death? What are your tools? Are you ready? You might die tomorrow. You never know. And when you're facing that moment of death, what do you have to tell death? I'm ready to face you, and I'm facing you happily. What do you have to say that to death? If you don't have anything, then it's time really to let go of things that don't matter very much. Let go of things that can't help you when you die. So I think it's meaningful to read these songs again and again, and not just over this weekend, but it's really nice to review them and to sing them and to really let them sink in, so that it's not something that's superficial, something that we think, it's good, I know what he's saying and it's good, I agree, I want to do that, but then we keep procrastinating and we don't actually do it. So we need to let it really sink in and really, make a difference in how we view life and how we want to live our lives. Okay, so let's continue. Page 20. This is from chapter 48. And it's a story about Shendomo and Lesebum. Would it be?
I think 14.
We're starting from 18?
19.
19.
Chapter 40. Milarepa.
Oh, did I skip that? Oh, yes. Sorry. Okay. Page 19, chapter 40, Milarepa. Tracy, is it possible for you to read the story background?
Certainly. Milarepa. The practitioner Lengom stayed alone in mountain retreats meditating, and a special realization arose. He went to offer his realization to the Jetsun, who was pleased and said, "That is excellent, since you still must have these things to adopt and abandon until you attain enlightenment. Understand them." Then he sang this song of realization.
Thank you. So even though Lengom Reba had a special realization, Milarepa said, well, yeah, that's good, but you need to go further, So then he sang this song. Let's see what he has to say. A son, a wife, and trying to please. These three are the bonds of the yogi. I think many of us are saying, "Oh, really? Son is good, wife is good, and pleasing them is something good to do." Yes, definitely, for a householder, for someone who's just, practicing to enrich their life. That's all good. There's no problem. But if you're serious about helping yourself to be completely free of suffering, helping all others to be complete of suffering, then these things are bondage. They bind you. They won't let you get away to practice. That's why he says they are the bonds of the yogi. Dharma practitioners must abandon these: goods, wealth, and arrogance. These three are the obstacles of the yogi. Dharma practitioners must abandon them. Well, everybody else in the world, endeavors to obtain more things, more money. And when they have a lot of possessions and a lot of money, they become arrogant. They think they're better than everybody else because they're quite accomplished in worldly accumulations. And that's how we allow people, gauge and judge others. If someone is wealthy and has everything they want, they think people usually think, oh, they're so successful, it's so good. But as practitioners, our view should be completely the opposite. It should not be how much one possesses. It should be how much one does not have. That should be how we view ourselves. If we don't have much, if we have very little, and even if we have the ability to have a lot of things, we decide and we choose not to have a lot. Just make life very simple so that it's easy to live a simple life. That's what we want. That's really what we want, because if we have a lot of things, it takes time to manage them and to maintain them and to keep them clean and organized and all that. But if you have very few things, then it's very easy, and you have a lot more time to devote to your practice. And that's why I think whether we're young or we're older, it's good to start to reduce our possessions. Especially someone like me, getting older, it's time to reduce my possessions so that I don't have to worry about when I die, who's going to get my things. And also, I wouldn't have to worry about, keeping them clean, keeping them organized, and things like that. So I think this is something that we can learn from Milarepa, and that, all these, the goods, the wealth, and all these, they're obstacles to the yogi, to the practitioner. They don't do any good. If we have wealth, it's good, especially if we're getting old, it's good to gradually give your possessions and your wealth away, because that will help you to accumulate a greater amount of merit. And the more merit you have, the better position you'll be when you die. And that is really for sure. Next, he sings, close ones, benefactors, and disciples. These are what discourage the yogi. Dharma practitioners must abandon these. So there's many lists of threes. Here's the next list. Close ones. Well, that's very, very difficult to abandon. Benefactors, this is talking more about, practitioners who rely on sponsors for their practice. And it's easy to become attached to these sponsors, because they fear if once sponsors leave, then there was no way of continuing with their practice. And disciples too, for that matter, because once students begin to gather, you may become too attached to the students, wanting to own students, as if they're your possession, and you want them to be happy, to like you, to respect you. And so all these things become obstacles. So in other words, and in short, if you become attached to anything at all, not just these three, it becomes an obstacle, and you can't really practice well. The next list of three: liquor, fatigue, and sleep. These three are the bandits of the yogi. Dharma practitioners must abandon them. The bandits, my gosh, I think I'm faced with these bandits a lot, fatigue and sleep. Liquor, maybe not at all, but so anyway, there are very diligent practitioners who would not allow themselves to sleep, and that is, very admirable. But on the other hand, if they cannot last, then they collapse and then become very sleepy. So that's not good either. So you need to have a balance. You sleep the minimum that your body requires, and then you use most of the day, to do things that are necessary, but then you always make sure that there's always time for practice. I think as lay practitioners, that's the best we can do. But I would also like to suggest, and this was suggested by the second Galurumche as well, when I was translating for one of his teachings. He said, rather than increasing your practice every day, which is difficult for most people who are working or who have a family to take care of, it's better to focus on practice in a form of retreat regularly. In other words, every weekend is your retreat weekend, or every month you pick a weekend, where you just do your retreat for 2 days, something like that. He says that's very effective. And I've always remembered that. And I would like to make the same suggestion to all of you, that you take time, maybe once a week if you can afford it, just 1 day a week, or if not, once every other week or something like that, or at least once a month, you take a day or two during the weekend. You just do nothing and turn off your phone and do nothing else but, just immerse yourself in practice, and can be any practice you're engaged in currently, and just spend, all the time on that practice rather than just a little bit a day. I think you'll see a difference, because the mind is prone to distraction. And if you only have a short period of time a day where there's no distraction and you're practicing, it's not enough. There's not enough strength in that short period of a focus. So if you can allow yourself to have a longer period of non-distraction from the external environment and just focus fully, even if you can't practice all day, at least, you can relax, do some meditation, sing some of these Milarepa songs or whatever, and do some practice and some meditation alternating, and some singing songs, things like that. Then I think it'll be enjoyable. It wouldn't be like something you fear, oh my gosh, I have to practice all day, how frightening. No, you don't have to. Just make it relaxing and something you look forward to every month. In that way, I think your mind will be in a much greater state of peace, and you will accomplish a lot more in your progress of whatever you're trying to complete, whether it's Wundro or how many millions of mantras you want to complete. You can really accomplish a lot in 2 days. So try it. I think you probably will like it, because it's very peaceful, and it's only 2 days, so you're not away from people for too long. People won't complain that, why didn't you answer my phone or something like that. It's not too bad. So I think it's good to try. Next, he sings, chatting, laughing, and entertainment. These three are the distractions of the yogi. Dharma practitioners must abandon these. Well, I've been doing a lot of these, actually. Actually, so yeah, Miller was saying, no, you don't do that. There are distractions, and it is true. I mean, strictly speaking, yes, it's true. You don't even get together with friends. You just stay alone and do your practice. Of course, that's best. And for a lot of us, being alone is difficult, without family or friends, even just for a day is extremely difficult. But I think if we're serious about our own liberation and liberation of all beings, if we're serious about being able to face death with confidence that you won't fall into lower realms. If we're serious about being able to have control over where you might go in the next life, then yeah, it's really worthwhile enduring some loneliness, in order to do your practice. And eventually you'll get used to being alone and you actually like it, I think. So there's always a start. And I think this is a good point to start, reading these songs and being encouraged instead of waiting where, over a course of maybe a week or a month, you would have forgotten everything that you have heard over this weekend, and nothing matters anymore. And you just go about your daily business as usual, and as if you've never read these songs. It could happen if you don't do something right away or make a change right away. So I think it's good that, this is only a week, less than a week. Yeah, a week after the new year. Make a strong resolution that you will do something to make your practice stronger, and you will do something to blend your practice with your day-to-day activity, and that you will do, a day or even 2 days or even 3 days of just intense practice every month, if not every week. In that way, I think having heard these songs will make it meaningful for you, and you'll be happy that you have done that. Otherwise, life goes on, and one day we die, and then we will regret very much that we haven't taken the opportunity that we were given, the instructions, the teachings we were given seriously. And now I'm dying, and now I have nothing to hold on to. Next, these things, the guru. So far, our list of 3 things that one must abandon, and now next come lists of 3 things that we should adopt. First, he says, the guru, key instructions, and faith. These three are foundations for the yogi. Dhamma practitioners must adopt these. So the guru is very, very important. And we need to have a guru, or, at least someone, a teacher, who will give us instructions, who can guide us when we have questions, who will watch over us when we are a little lost as to, what's best for us, and what our directions should be. All these. The guru is always kind and caring. And if we can have such a guru, then we should treasure them. And key instructions is also something we need to adopt and receive. Instructions that we receive in order to do our practices, instructions that we need in order to train our mind. And all these are very important. And faith, of course. If we don't have faith, then whatever instructions or teachings we receive, or whatever the guru says, we might have some degree of doubt. Maybe what he or she says is true, but let's see. And the teachings all sound good, but let's see. Time will tell if this is true. Or I need to do some investigation or some analyzing before I would really believe it. Well, I mean, this is fine for beginners. They need to have doubts, but once you have established that what you have been taught is true and infallible, then you should not doubt again. You should always try to develop faith rather than trying to question, what the teacher has said. Next solitary places, good companions, and provisions. These three are the walking stick of the yogi. Dharma practitioners must adopt these. Solitary places kind of seems contrary to good companions and contrary to provisions, but you do need companions, at least initially, who can, if the teacher is not always available, you need to have, companions, Dharma friends who can be your friend and your, kind of advisor, perhaps, if you have questions and doubts. And provisions, you need at least some simple, source of provisions for your practice. But mainly, what Milarepa really, what he wants all of his students to do is to stay in solitary places. And I think it's not so difficult to stay in solitary places if we define it as a place where you can be alone without anybody bothering you. Even your home, it can be a solitary retreat place when there's no one in the house. Like I'm staying in a monastery and I have my own room, and I feel like I can easily do a retreat in my room. And there are actually many people who come to KTD to do solitary retreat. So it's definitely possible, even though you're in a monastery setting and there are people outside your door, but you're in your room and nobody's going to disturb you. And so it's still ideal for a retreat. So like that, we can easily do retreats at home. And even if you have your own room in a house, you have other family members, if you just stay in your room and just do your practice, that is also a solitary retreat, in my opinion, in a broader sense. So yeah, I think it's a matter of whether you want to do it or not. It's not a matter of lacking the space to do the retreat. So yeah, let's think about this. We have excuses of there isn't a good place for me to do retreat. I need to go somewhere. I can't do retreat in my home. I think these are all situations that can be resolved, so that you can make your own space, even in a tiny home. Non-distraction, non-thought, and bliss. These three are the spouse of the yogi. Dharma practitioners must adopt these. So, of course, in our lives, family, children, parents, and spouses, these are everybody's closest, family members. But as a yogi, he's saying, well, my spouse is non-distraction. Non-distraction is always with me. Non-thought is always with me. And bliss is always with me. So adopt these rather than adopt a human, someone, to be your closest person. And if we want non-distraction, non-thought, and bliss, we really need to really be serious. We want to be with them. We need to be serious enough. Otherwise, they will just leave us. There could be that in your retreat, bliss could arise, non-thought could arise, non-distraction may arise as well in your retreat or in your practice, but they could quickly go away because you don't want them seriously enough. They will just go away because after the practice or the retreat, you could just, go off and do something completely different, completely unrelated to practice. And your mind does not remain in that state of, being with the Dharma, being with the practice. then of course, and these experiences will go away. So that's why yesterday I kept emphasizing again and again, whether you're on a cushion meditating or doing practice or not, when you leave your cushion, always take your practice with you, whatever you're doing. Take it with your mind, within your mind. In that way, whatever blissful experience or whatever nice experience you might have on the cushion will remain with you, and they will keep arising again and again and again, even when you're not meditating. But if you, on the other hand, you leave the cushion and completely forget about, bringing the practice with you in your mind, then of course it's gone. And you don't know when these good experiences will occur again, because you don't take good care of them. You don't take them as your spouse, you don't take them with you everywhere you go. So of course they're going to leave you. Next, he says, relaxation, spontaneity, and naturalness. These three are the demeanor of the yogi. Dharma practitioners must adopt these. Again, these experiences of being relaxed actually is a state of mind where the mind is naturally resting in its own natural place. So it doesn't necessarily mean physical relaxation, I think. Being able to completely relax in the mind's natural state is something that needs to be trained. You need to practice and meditate so that your mind can naturally relax in its own place. And spontaneity is the same. Naturalness is referring to pretty much the same. I think all these three refer to the practitioner being able to rest naturally in the mind's own nature. So he says, these are the demeanor of the yogi. You should try to always relax naturally, spontaneously in your own mind's nature. So do that. And then he sings non-attachment, non-aggression, and higher perceptions. These three are the yogi signs of the path. Dharma practitioners must adopt these. I think these three, non-attachment is what we're working towards. Non-aggression is what we work towards. Higher perception is something that we aim to achieve, so working toward that. Higher perception means a perception that's free of preconception, a perception that is free of the fixated idea that everything truly and solidly exists, including the mind itself. If you can go beyond that kind of fixation, then you will achieve a state of higher perception. So these three, he says, we should adopt. And this just means that, this is something that can be achieved if we truly seriously engage in practice. Thus he sang. Lingom said, by the kindness of the Jezun, I have abandoned all these things to be abandoned. And by doing so, I have implicitly adopted those things to be adopted. That's quite something, actually. Mm-hmm. Thank you for making it so that I'm always happy. The Jezun replied, son, I'm always impressed by Milarepa, that he always calls his students son or daughter. He really truly cares about them and regards them as his children. So he says, son, that is it. A yogi who maintains everything that should be abandoned and adopted is always happy and well. yeah, we might still have some doubts, he's so strict, how can we really do what he says? And will I really be happy if I do what he says? We have doubts, but he says, I guarantee you will be very happy and well. If you turn from them, you will always suffer. If you turn away from what I advised you to do, you will continue to suffer as you have been. The dividing line between happiness and misery isn't what to adopt and abandon. And this is so true. So I remember in the past, Kimbukata Rinpoche used to say, a practitioner's view is so vastly contrary to mundane views. Mundane values are what we want, exactly what we want to abandon, as we've been seeing these days. And what mundane people kind of regard as lowly and despicable because someone doesn't have any money and lives a simple life and is very poor and they don't care. It's like, well, what kind of person is that? But that's the kind of person that Milarepa praises, like they don't want anything. They just want to practice. They can give up their career. They can give up their family, like, Gampopa did. He was a doctor. He was married, but it's fine, And so it's very hard for us. I mean, that's why I keep saying it's very hard for us to just give up everything and just, go and practice in retreat. That's why we do it in bits and pieces. We do a little bit better here if we can, give up a little bit of attachment to this little thing, then we give it up. If we can give up this hobby, okay, we give it up, so we can have time to do more practice. If we give up some entertainment or watching movies and Netflix and YouTube and this and that, we give it up, even if not altogether, but at least reduce the amount of time we spend on it. That's already an improvement. So for practitioners such as us, myself included, a bits at a time actually helps. And then gradually, as we get older, our mind and our life, becomes more and more into the Dharma and less engaged in the mundane activities. I think that itself is already a success. And I think in that way, we're already to our, in our capacity, following what Milarepa is advising. But on the other hand, if we do nothing, like make no changes to what we're doing, unless you're already doing, 100% of what he's doing, then I have nothing to say. But if we're not yet, then please do something. Don't do nothing, like just keep living the way you're doing if you have been living. And, as if you never heard what he said and you don't care. I think that's a little bit sad. Okay, next song is on page 21. From chapter 48 of the 100,000 Songs, Shendomo and Lesebum. Okay, Tracy, please.
The couple Shendormo and Lexebom, benefactors who had great faith from the very beginning, invited the Jetsun to Tsarma. Immediately upon meeting him, Shendormo took Milarepa's hand. Now that I have become old, I'm afraid of my impending death. I regret not having had the opportunity to practice Dharma in the presence of the Jetsun, he said, as he wept openly. The Jetsun replied, Benefactor, apart from the truly noble Dharma practitioners, the suffering of birth, old age, sickness, and death is something that all sentient beings will experience. If you have fear of death, then it would be fitting for you to practice Dharma at the time of death. Then he sang this song of realization.
Thank you. A lot of people think they're too old to practice. I'm too old, I can't do much. I can't do Ngondro. I can't do prostrations and this and that. But it's never too late. You're never too old to practice. And the older you are, the more necessary it is for you to really be serious about practice, because death is impending. So that's why here also in this story, Milarepa says, yeah, death may be coming soon, but that's why it's fitting for you to practice Dharma now. So let's see what he sings. As far as mundane worldly beings, there's not a single one who is without the four rivers of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Again and again, we spin in the ocean of samsara, and not realizing it, we're distracted by the waves of suffering, while not having a single moment of happiness. Well, Prabhupada will argue with that, with him, and saying, well, I've had many moments of happiness in life, so it's not all suffering. That is true. I think what he's saying is, although superficially we do experience happiness, the joy of eating, the joy of, outing, or, sightseeing, or doing this and that, being with friends and family. Yes, these are all happy times. But underneath that, there's always something that's uneasy, that makes us uneasy. When we're having a family get together, for example, something uneasy is there because we know tomorrow they all leave, or tomorrow you have to leave your family. And if there's a family reunion, yeah, there's a day when you have to leave again. Or if you have good food, yeah, but you're happy eating the food, but when you get too full, you get a stomach ache, or something like that, or diarrhea if the food is not clean. And there's always something that's not quite right, so that's why suffering is always like undercurrent in everything we do. And that's because that's the nature of samsara. The nature of samsara is suffering. There's nothing that is pure, sheer joy and bliss. Nothing in samsara. The sheer, pure bliss and joy without any consequences, without any need to worry, without any kind of undercurrent uneasiness, that can only come with practice, with the fruit of practice. The fruit of practice is that. And we think enlightenment is some sort of high state of mind, and very lofty, where the mind is just kind of like a god, there, it's like very, very high state of mind, and it just sits there, and it's not really. It's just sheer bliss all the time. That's what enlightenment is. Of course, what comes with it is also, a much higher state of perception, and a much higher state of awareness and wisdom, knowing, a state of knowing where most people don't know, they know. And that is also, I think, just being a person who is knowing and being always keen and aware is also something very pleasant. So it's also a state of bliss, I think. So I would like to maybe, not to define, but to just like to maybe say that the fruit of our practice is that pure joy and bliss. That's the fruit that is not afflicted by anything whatsoever, that cannot be destroyed by anything whatsoever, and that is never stained by some sort of undercurrent worry or uneasiness. Never. that state of mind is the result of our practice. And you will all get there if we practice. I hope that's encouraging, because we think enlightenment is maybe seeing something we never saw before, or, whatever. And that's it, nothing special, nothing happy about it. But actually, it's the most happy thing you can ever have in your life if you have a solid result from your practice. So that is why in many of the prayers, the gurus, we see that, practitioners or even enlightened people who will say, I pray to my guru whose mind is great bliss. They point it out right away, and they know their guru's mind is the mind of great bliss. And that is really true. The reason it can be like that is because the mind is free of fixation on a truly existent self. When you can be free of that, that itself is great bliss. Okay, next he sings, through fearing we will suffer, we create suffering. In hopes of gaining happiness, we engage in negativity. If you want liberation from this suffering, it's good to be free of bad conduct and negativity. It's fitting to practice the sublime Dharma at the time of death. So actually, fear is almost innate, it's almost something that we're born with, it's fear that is most difficult to overcome. And that fear kind of runs through our lives, fear of not having enough food. That's why we work so hard to make money. Fear of not having, a good dwelling, good things to wear, a good family, and good this and that. It's out of fear that we work so hard all life long. But because of the fear, Milarepa said, we suffer. And we create suffering for ourselves. So if we can immerse our mind in practice and not worry so much about not having this, not having that, liking in this or liking in that, just be content with what we have, and be content with minimal necessities, and be content with the practice we're doing, which should be the source of ultimate bliss and happiness, then we'll be much happier. So he's saying, if you fear, you will actually, if you fear, you will actually suffer. And if you suffer, you will create more suffering because you're suffering. And so that's what a lot of people do. And you can see, many people are just doing exactly that. And he says, in hopes of gaining happiness, we engage in negativity. And that is very true too. People, do things to be happy, but the things they do to make themselves happy can be harmful to others. So that becomes negativity. I have a friend who, I don't want to say anything bad about somebody, but just to point this out, she's usually honest and good, but when she wants something, she'll say a little lie so she can get it. And even a little lie is negativity, is negative karma, and just so she can get something. And And if she can have that, and she's happy, but then at the same time, she's created bad karma, for herself, and she's gonna have to suffer the result of her lying. So, what dilemma? You want something for yourself, but so you say a little bit something that you think is not harmful, but it's actually a lie that other people find very irritating. They know you're lying, and it's bad karma. So as a result, maybe not this life, maybe in future lifetimes, that will get back to you and you will suffer from that dishonesty. And people do that, even including practitioners who are not careful about their karma. They will do that. They think, oh, it's harmless, but it's bad. Even if it doesn't harm anyone, it's bad. So in order to make us happier, we do all sorts of things that are already creating or have created and will create negative karma for ourselves. And we are the only one who will experience the negative results of our negative actions. No one else can take it for us. No one else will need to experience it for us. Our own karma can only be created by ourselves. And our own karma, the result of that karma can only be experienced by ourselves. No one else will. There can never be a mistake. There will be no mistake in the law of karma. Like I did something wrong, but I don't have to suffer the consequence. Someone else does. That will never happen. Or, circumstances, causes, and conditions don't ripen for a long time. So maybe it'll just kind of disappear and I won't have to suffer any consequence. That does not happen either. Maybe next lifetime, and we don't know about next lifetime. So we think, oh, I did something really bad this life, but nothing happened. I'm still happy and everything's going well. So maybe nothing will happen. No, it's just because it has not ripened yet, unfortunately. So we need to do something about it. We all in our many, infinite past lifetimes have done very bad things, for sure. Otherwise, we wouldn't be still stuck here. We should be already enlightened, So we need to do something about it. And how? The Buddha, fortunately, has taught us how. And there's many ways of purifying our karma through a variety of practices, including Vajrasattva practice, including, the 35 Buddha practice of confession. Just every practice we do, actually, there's always a degree of purification, even just, prostrations, or even mandala, which we consider as a means of accumulating the merit. But that also can serve as purification. And Guru Yoga also, can be very effective in purifying our karma. So all of these will help us. So we've been given all these teachings and methods for achieving, greater degree of bliss and happiness, and even ultimate bliss and happiness, where there is no suffering whatsoever in the mind. And if we still, wasting our time not applying these practices diligently, how sad is that? Really. So next chapter, preparing to have joy at death. Wow. Yes. How many people are happy and say, I'm going to die. How great. You have never seen anybody like that. It's always like rejection, anger. It's unfair. I shouldn't die. I don't want to die. Most people are like that, unless they're really, really old and they just like had it, It's like, okay, I can die. It's time to die. I'm okay, Otherwise, just most people are like, I don't want to die. I want to live longer. And even people who accept death, they're never happy, right? Okay, I can die, but I'm not happy. So here, Milarepa is saying, well, prepare to have joy at death. So let's see what he says. Tracy, please.
Rechungpa asked, since my practice in secret mantras path of means has become stable, is it okay to rely upon just a few sensory pleasures? The Jetsun replied, it is okay to use sensory pleasures to support your practice, but it's not okay to use your practice to support sensory pleasures. When I came from Marpa of Lodok's side, I had abandoned the 8 worldly concerns. He told me that I should practice in reliance on a few sensory pleasures. I practiced accordingly, and because of that, some good qualities arose in my mind stream. You too should abandon the 8 concerns, and without thinking that you have any leisure for practicing, practice now. Then he sang this song of realization.
Thank you. Yeah, don't think we have leisure for practicing, practice now, don't delay. Is his message that throughout these songs. The 8 worldly concerns are concerns about having pleasure, fame, gain, and praise, and concerns about, having or avoiding pain. And the contrary to fame is avoiding being someone who's insignificant, and avoiding loss and avoiding blame. So these are 8 concerns ordinary people have. Oh, you know what? I forgot to sing those songs. Let's go back. Was page 819? Legum Reba. Let's sing those songs. Let's sing slowly so you can still have time to read the translation. Okay, ready? Page 19. Oi pudan choma ngosun sun de son na joy ge chingwa yin che ze nam ge bang sa lo se dang long je ken zha sun Desum nan joge pa che yin che se nam ge ban sa lo nian da yuan da lo ma song Desum nan joge sho de bin che se nam ge ban sa lo chang dang ngao du ni dang song de song nan jo ge che mo yin che se nam ge ban sa lo Tam dang ge mo de mo song de song nan jo ge yen wa yin che ze nam ge ban so lo Lama dang dam ga be ba song Desum nan jogi shinden yin che ze nam ge zhu cao lo wene zhu zhu zo wa song Deso nanjoge kawain. Cheze namge josalo baye mido devasum deso nanjoge dendroin Cheze namge josalo Luba shujo ranjong song Deso nanjo ge kyeso in Cheze namge josalo Chame dame ngan song Desum nanjo ye lamdayin Cheze namge josalo Desum nanjo ye lamdayin Cheze namge josalo. Yeah, very nice. Now, there's this short song on page 21, Shendomo and Lesebum. Aewogo jowa jindemba Kega na juoshi Jido ma se guna yu Kowe kya tso yang yang go Mi she du nga fa la yen Te wa ge je mi da na Do ge do ne do nga jo Ge do re shin de ba jen Dunga de le ta de na Ngen je de ba ba na le Che ka la che che na de Che ka la che che na de. Okay, let's look at the next song. Again, Milarepa begins by honoring his teacher Marba. The Lord Guru's life story is impressed upon my mind, and I never forget his advice that was like Amrita. If you think you have leisure to put off the Dharma, you will miss your chance. Mix Dharma with your mind stream and apply yourself in meditation. I think this point was repeatedly reinforced yesterday, in my talk. You need to mix your mind with the Dharma and apply your meditation. When we think of meditation, we think it's sitting meditation or walking meditation, that you need to physically be in a quiet place and you need to adopt some sort of posture unless you're doing walking meditation. But of course, that's what we call formal meditation. But if you wish to mix your mind with meditation and with practice, then your meditation and practice does not need to be limited to a certain area of the room or certain environment or certain physical posture. It can be anywhere. It can be anything that you're doing. In fact, it's been said by great masters, even if you're just drinking tea, you can be meditating. It can be a form of meditation. And in fact, the Chinese and Japanese have been doing that, what's called a tea ceremony, where everything is a meditation. But actually, not just drinking tea, even if you like put down your teacup and just while you're putting your teacup down, there's a moment where there's a gap. That gap is where you're not drinking tea and you are not putting your cup down and you are not starting to do something else, like such as talking with your friends who are also drinking tea. There's that moment of gap where you can be resting your mind, where you can be really truly be meditating, something like that. So we can find many gaps like that. You can be gazing into the cloudy sky or into the snow on the ground or looking at the snow, and your mind can be in meditation. So if we are conscientious, we can actually find many opportunities and many moments where the mind can be in meditation. And it's often those moments that you can find in your daily activity where you can pause and be in a state of meditation, that's when the meditation can be most profound, I find. So try it, and it's not just meditation. It can be recollecting yourself as a deity if you're already doing a form of deity practice. It can be remembering the refuge tree if you're doing Lodro, the refuge. It can be, reciting a mantra if you have a main mantra that you would like to take as your main mantra. It can be, remembering to recite the mantra when you're driving. And even when you're listening to someone talking, yakking away. Sometimes I have friends who talk for a long time on the phone and can't stop them. And I just do my mantras or something, Or in my office, people are discussing things and someone will always go on about, about the idea about this and that. And then I just do my mantra. And so, yeah, there's really many opportunities where you can just immerse yourself in practice without anybody knowing, or without, disturbing anybody, and without bringing obstacle to what you need to be doing. So if we don't do this, then we're wasting a lot of time, really, just incredible amount of time that we waste that we could be using to practice. So okay, so he sings, if you're attached to this life, the next life will be difficult. To delight in temporary pleasure is a great hindrance. So this, we've been talking about this all along. If we're attached to this life, we think, all these mundane needs are most important. We place them at the level higher than anything else. Practice is kind of at the what we call something that we do to kind of enhance our spiritual life, but it's not really main focus of life. A lot of people are like that. It's, yeah, I want to have some sort of spiritual life, and it is important, but that's all there is to it. It's not really important when it comes down to it. What's important is what I do for a living, what I do for my family, what I do to entertain myself or whatever. That's what I consider life. If I remove all these and just practice, it's not life, it's just, what kind of life can that be? That's kind of, can't fathom that. Yeah, it's true. I understand. And that's why we're still stuck in samsara, because we take that kind of attitude. But if we can gradually make a transition into not just a spiritual life, but taking your practice as the most important thing in your life, not just something you do, but something you have to do and you want to do and you enjoy doing and you think is most important, because it's not just for you, it's for all sentient beings. How much more important and meaningful can that be if you're doing something for all sentient beings? Nothing. There's nothing you can find that's more important than that, really, and more meaningful. And you have found that you can do. Yeah, there's things you can actually do and practice to actually make that happen, make that possible. And you have been given a way to make that possible. Then if you just still, still don't do it, I think it's just not forgivable, really. So if you're attached to this life, the next life will be difficult. And unfortunately, most people are attached to the life. There's almost no one, unless they're really good, sincere practitioners, there's almost no one who's not attached to this life. No one wants to leave this life. No one wants to do things of otherworldly, So, but he says, if you delight in temporary pleasure, it becomes a great obstacle to your own liberation and the liberation of all beings, all beings whom you want to liberate. And that obstacle is brought on by yourself because you're attached to this life. If you think you have leisure to put off the Dharma, that is foolish. Well, I don't know about you. I deserve to be scolded like that. If you fear your death, apply yourself in meditation. Yeah, we all fear death, I think, most of us. But we do nothing about it. And for most people, even if they wish to do something about it, there's no way. They don't know how to not fear death. They have not been given a way, a method, a technique where they don't have to fear death. So they just continue to fear death, unfortunately. And as they approach old age, the fear becomes greater and greater. So old age is really, for some people, unbearable. They're constantly living in fear. When, I might die someday. How terrible, frightening is that? But the fortunate us, we have been given a way to face death. So here Milarepa says, apply yourself in meditation. If you engage in negative action, you will fall into the lower realms. That's for sure. Especially if the negative actions are serious. If you're deceitful or conniving, you'll just lose yourself. All these, are things that we a lot of people engage in, being deceitful. If you develop malicious intentions, you'll exhaust your merit. You might have accumulated a lot of good merit through a lot of virtuous actions in the past. But if in this life you become someone who's very malicious, always have kind of a anger toward others, wanting to enjoy others' misfortune, that kind of person, then all the merit you've worked so hard to accumulate may be exhausted just by your terrible intentions and thoughts. If you want to purify your karmic results, apply yourself in meditation. So, like I was just saying, such practices such as Vajra and practically all practices, they can purify your karma. So, what does it mean to purify karma? It means that the negative karma that you have created in the past, the results of which will always be suffering. But if you can purify your karma, you will not need to go through those sufferings, which means your future lives will be much happier. And if you continue to not accumulate negative karma and only gather positive karma, then all your future lives will be very happy. And then you'll continue with this kind of life after life, until you reach complete freedom from suffering. How happy is that? So apply yourself in meditation. That's the only way you can reach that. If we wish to wear nice clothes, your outlook is confused. Yeah, that's like, what? If you wish to eat good food, you'll strive in a negative conduct, because you need to have resources to buy good food. And you might just lie here, lie there a little bit, do a little harm to others just so you can be successful in your business and all that. Yeah, that's all possible. Many people do that. If you long for pleasing words, you will be wrecked by fame. People who are not famous, usually they're honest and sincere people. Once you reach a level of fame, it's the beginning of downfall for a lot of people, especially in politicians. Very, very sad to see that. But yes, you can be wrecked by fame. Abandon the 8 concerns and apply yourself in meditation. Don't be concerned about whether you succeed or you have fame, or if you gain something, or you are praised or not. All these things, just throw them behind you. If you wish for a rich patron, you'll encounter enemies. Yeah, this is on page 23. Yeah. Sometimes even practitioners would try to please their patrons so that the patrons will not stop, sponsoring them, or maybe the practitioner will hope that the patron would sponsor even more. If they kind of show the patron how good a practitioner they are, and how kind they are, and the patron would think, oh, he or she's such a good practitioner, they're so kind, practice must be going well, I should give them more money, that kind of thing. And this is actually really bad if you're a practitioner and you do that kind of thing. So you're creating enemies for yourself, Milarepa says, if you do that. And then he says, if you wish to be surrounded by many retinues, you'll have great regret. Some people not only wish for power, they wish for a lot of people surrounding them, people listening to their commands and doing what they say and serving them, and that kind of thing. And he says, well, if that's what you wish, you'll have great regret. Maybe not in this life, but you'll see. Yeah, I'm sure he's not saying in a kind of, a tone of contempt. He's just saying, how sad if you're like that. I don't want you to be like that. if you wish to amass many things, you'll have many wrong views. Accumulation of either wealth or possessions is never any good. It's not a good thing. If they come because of your past merit, you need to have merit to be rich in this life. And so if you're rich and comfortable, everything, comes your way, it's because you have done very good things in past lives. And so you're reaping your fruit, harvesting your fruit in this life because you've done very good things. You're helping others, giving away your wealth. So now this life, you're very wealthy. It comes naturally. That's the law of karma. But if you don't have the karma to be well off and you try very hard, it's very difficult to succeed, actually. And even if you somehow succeed, you may have to use a lot of negative techniques and means to gather wealth. So that's why he's saying, you may have many wrong views and you may have many ideas that are really not good for you or for others. Make your mind harmonious with the Dharma and apply yourself in meditation. If you can meditate, then realization will dawn in your mind. And that comes naturally. A lot of people think, I'm practicing and I've been practicing so many years, but I have no realization. And my afflictive emotions, anger, and all that is still, they're all still very strong. But it just means that you are taking a long time to get somewhere. It doesn't mean nothing has improved. I always believe that as long as you practice, there's already a lot of accumulation, merit, and purification of karma going on in the background where you are not aware of, because the result and the fruit of accumulation of merit does not ripen very quickly. It can, but usually not. So you don't see that you're getting better right away, either internally or externally. And purification is already working, but it doesn't seem very obvious in your life. You still feel like there's a lot of obscuration, a lot of negative, emotions going on and things like that. And maybe you're still experiencing a lot of misfortune and suffering and all that. So you might question, where's that all that purification that is supposed to happen? It is happening, have no doubt. It's just taking time. In fact, there was one time in one of my retreats, His Eminence Taisei Rinpoche came to our retreat to give a talk. And he said, and I never have forgotten what he said. He said, if you complete the retreat, the 3-year retreat, and, of course, not wasting time and sleeping all through, but if you do your practice, in retreat, I guarantee you will purify 1,000,000 lifetimes of karma. And it was like, I don't see it, It's true. You don't see it and you don't feel it, but it's already working, it's working. So it's like that. So apply yourself in practice. Have no doubt that it always works. It is already working. Then he says, if you cannot meditate, then you'll just have empty speech and lies. Since you don't have much time left to meditate, because, they're getting old, exert yourself in meditation without distraction. Kimbakata Rinpoche used to say to older people who came to him for interview and said, I'm getting old, can't really practice, memory is bad, don't have much vitality, can't do much. What do I do? And Kim Rinpoche always told them, well, being old is excellent time to practice because you don't have a job, you're retired. And so you can practice as much as you want. You can devote all your time to practice. And you don't need to do anything complicated, such as deity visualization or prostrations. That's maybe difficult, because the mind is not very clear, doesn't work very well. The body doesn't want to cooperate if you do prostrations. He would say, do something simple. Do a simple practice. Maybe it could be a simple sadhana, a short sadhana. And you just focus on mantra recitation, and not a huge long mantra, but something short, such as Om Mani Padme Hum or Om Dare Du Soha, something like that. And then you can say it all day long. You can say it anytime, anywhere, and you can carry that practice with you all the time. And that's sufficient. And I think that's very good advice. And then he says, if you mix your mind with Dharma everywhere, you will have bliss. And this is so true. Someone whose mind is mixed with Dharma will always be joyful. Remaining alone is also excellent. I think that goes without saying. My son, Richomba, let your mind abide in the precious samadhi of clarity, emptiness, meditation. So clarity, emptiness is actually the nature of the mind. Actually, this meditation is resting in the nature of mind, which itself is emptiness. Itself is clarity and luminosity. It doesn't need to be made to be clear and luminous. It does not need to be made to be empty. It is clarity, emptiness in itself and by itself. I think time's up, so then we'll look at the next part this afternoon. Do we have a dedication prayer to say for the end of the session? I think there's like one verse. If we can share screen, that would be good. If not, are you prepared to share screen? If not, we'll just chant it. Most people have memorized it anyway. Stacy?
Yeah, we can,
Tracy, I'm sorry.
yeah, it looks like that. There it is. Okay.
Good. All right. Would you please say, yeah.
Asanam di tam je zikpani tomne ni vedana banje gegana jibalak trupai Sibitsole roa roa show.
And I think we should be able to finish reading all the songs. So see you this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.